Hi everyone, and welcome to part 7 of the Dapt Mini Series. Today we're going to be looking at building engagement and communities with Yammer. So first off, quick introductions to the team. So today we've got Daniel Fow and myself, Stephen Port. We're both the co-founders and directors of Dapt UK. We do all things Microsoft 365, so the entire sort of suite of tools. And again, we've got sort of great experience working across that feature set. What I'll do is I'll hand over to Daniel, who's going to be leading the presentation today. He's going to go through the agenda and then some great tips, tricks, and features of Yammer. So over to you, Dan.
Cheers, thanks, Steve, and thanks for joining everyone. So today's session is on Yammer, which I think is a kind of sometimes misunderstood tool within Microsoft 365. So I'm going to be taking you through an introduction to Yammer to start with. Then we'll be having a look at some of the key features. So some really cool features built into Yammer nowadays, and there's also some great integrations. So we're going to show you how you can integrate it with Teams, with your intranet, and then I think this is a really important one. We're going to focus on adoption. I've seen quite a lot of Yammer implementations in the past that didn't work, and that is typically when people have turned it on and not really put that planning in place. So we'll cover that off as well, and then we'll finish up with a few top tips. So I guess I wanted to put this slide in here first, because this is when we've spoken to a lot of customers, there has been some confusion in the past about which tool to use when. There does seem to be a fair amount of overlap between some of the tools. So we've got SharePoint, Teams and Yammer, and they all in some way do collaboration and communication. So what we try and do when we work with our customers is to help them understand how we position these tools within the company. And before I go into the details, I'll give you the kind of high level approach that we take. We see SharePoint as very much a replacement for file shares. So this is really where you go and do your work with your departments, your projects, or your other teams. It's where you store your files. It's very much kind of day-to-day working environment. It can also be used for intranets. So we do use this for intranet platforms as well. So it's good for that kind of public comms that goes across the organization. And it's also a good way to collaborate with external people. So you can share libraries within SharePoint or files and allow people outside of your organization to collaborate on documents and see documents without having to rely on email to send those back and forth. Teams is a tool that I think sits in between the two. So Teams is obviously built on SharePoint. It's typically kind of private collaboration spaces, again, for departments and projects that want a bit more than just a place to store documents. So this is where they want to have conversations, they want to integrate with other applications, but it's very much focused on day-to-day business tasks. And a lot of companies are now using this as a replacement for internal emails. So we have very few internal emails, in fact, no internal emails. We only use email when we're talking with people outside of our organization, and Teams has really helped us do that. Of course, Teams does have some document storage, but that document storage is basically SharePoint behind the scenes. So I see Teams and SharePoint, when we're talking about team sites, as very much a kind of private communities for people to get their work done. Now, where Yammer comes in, we see Yammer as an organizational wide tool. So this is a tool that's open to the entire organization for communications, and it allows people to engage outside of their normal departments and projects. So you can engage with products, features, you can have input to communities that you wouldn't normally be aware of. And it's a great way of kind of opening up conversations across the business and bringing people together in this kind of new hybrid way of working. It can be a good replacement for those chats around the coffee machine or in the canteen, that kind of thing. We also think Yammer should be a mix of social and business content. It's having the social aspects in there is a great way of building those communities, bringing people together, and actually keeping the platform alive. So hopefully that's kind of given you a good flavour of how these tools can work together. You can have all three deployed in your environment, but you need to make sure that you're clear with your audience about which tool to use when, and that's where we can help. So with that, I'll jump into a demo of Yammer. So let me fire up my demo environment. So Yammer has actually changed a fair bit in the last year. So to get to Yammer, much like any of the other Microsoft 365 applications, we can click on the waffle up here in the top and you'll see Yammer as one of the options. So if I click into Yammer, it takes me through to the Yammer homepage. And this is where you'll notice that there's been a redesign. So this has been modernized to bring it in line with the other apps within Microsoft 365. It's taken a while. The old version of Yammer was looking a bit stale, but I think Microsoft are now investing a lot of time and money in the Yammer platform and really integrating it nicely with other tools in the stack. There's also a mobile app for Yammer. So if you've got a mobile device, it can be a work device or a personal device. If the setting's been set up that way in your organization, you can actually use Yammer on your mobile app. And I think this is a great way of sharing information and pictures. So if you're maybe working on a project and you want to take a picture of people working together, you can take a picture on your phone and post it straight into one of those Yammer groups. It's a really great way of kind of, telling stories about the business. There's also a new desktop app for Yammer. And this can be installed when you go into Yammer, if you click in the browser at the top, in the top right hand corner, you'll see 3 squares. And if you actually click on that, you'll have the option to install the Yammer desktop app. I've already done this, so it'll just give me the option to open it. But this gives you a full kind of desktop app experience, a bit like the Teams client. And it gives you all of the functionality you get in the browser. But it's a slightly easier way to get into your Yammer environment. So definitely worth a look there. So when I open up Yammer, the first thing I see is my home feed. And effectively, this shows me any messages from communities that I'm a member of or I'm connected to. It will show content from people who I'm close to at work. So we use AI to work out who I correspond with a lot, who's in my team, and show me messages from them. It will show me trending messages, and it will also actually show me SharePoint news now. So it's a good, sort of does integrate with your intranet platform as well. I've also got my inbox over here on the left-hand side. So this is where people can send me private messages. It will also show me updates on conversations that I've been involved with, and if anyone mentions me in a group, it will also bring that conversation into my inbox, so I can jump in here and quickly get up to date with what's been going on across my Yammer environment. So those are the kind of two ways to catch up with what's going on in Yammer. Next up, we've got communities. So if you've used Yammer for a while, this is effectively what they used to call groups. But this will show me any communities that I'm not a member of. Well, it will show me all communities that I have access to. So it'll show recommended communities that it thinks I'll be interested in based on the way I work and the people I work with. But I can also click on all, and this will give me an option to see all of the communities that I could potentially join within the organisation. By default, when you sign up to Yammer, you're automatically added to the all company group. So this is a group that everyone is a part of. But you can see here there's a whole range of different other communities that have been set up that might be of interest to me. And you can see the ones that I've already joined. Those that I haven't joined, I do actually have the option to click in and view the content. So before I join, I can actually have a look in here and see if this is interesting to me. If it is, I can click to join. And you can see that's now added Office 365 adoption to my communities on the left-hand side. So I can now see this when I come into my client, and I will get updates into my home feed and my inbox based on being a member of this group. The other thing I can do here is if this is one of my favorite groups, so a frequent group that I'm going to be using a lot, I've got the option up here to click on the heart, and you can see what that's done on the left-hand side is it's put it in my favorites. So this just means it's a group that I want to quickly jump back into, so I can just click that heart and it will drop me straight back into the conversation. So with that, I'm going to show you how you can create a community. So down the left hand side here, I've got the option at the bottom, you can see to create a community. And within this, I can set up a name for my community. So as I mentioned, it's nice to have a mix of kind of work orientated communities, but also some social ones. So I know now that we're coming back into the office, there's people who are looking to get fit. There's a few sports clubs and after work communities that are spread across the business, but we haven't really got a place where we can communicate. It's all very much done on email, and it's actually hard for people joining the business or people who aren't aware of those clubs to know what's going on. So I'm going to create a club for this, and I'm going to say this is a place to talk about after work sports clubs. I can choose to add members here. So if I've already got a five-a-side team going, I can add members of that team. So I'm just going to add a couple of people in here. And then we've got some options here with the settings. So we can choose whether this is a public or private group. Now, in my opinion, I think all groups within Yammer should be public. I think if you want a private group, you should probably be looking to Teams to set that up. I really think where Yammer shines is as an open community where anyone can get involved. So my preference is to leave every group public, which means that anyone can join and get involved with the conversation. So I'm going to create this group, and you can see it's giving me a cover photo up the top here. I could choose to upload a different image if I like, and I can also do some extra bits here. So I can add some additional information about my group if I want. So I can edit this and put some details in about what the purpose of this group is. And I would say that's definitely worth doing, because for Yammer to be a success, you really need to have a clear objective about what you're doing. I can also pin links to external websites. So if there's a kind of registration or an agenda for a schedule for our sports group, I could put that in here. But once that is all set up, I can jump in and just start the conversation. So I'm going to post the first message into this group, and rather than watch me type it out, I'm just going to copy this from my notes. Okay, so this is just an introduction message, just to let people know that we've started the group. I can add people to notify them about this. So if I want people to get a message to say, hey, someone's set up a group and they think you might be interested, I can add them there and they will get that information. I've done this as plain text, but you can see here we do have a kind of word style text editor. We can also add GIFs if we want to kind of keep things funny and social. So I'll add this to my post, and then when I'm ready to go, I'll just hit post. And now other members of the community can jump in and like and comment on this particular message. So a couple of things, now that we've got our group set up, maybe I want to put a poll out there to say, okay, which kind of sports is everyone interested in? So I'm going to ask a question. Which sports would people like to set up? I'm going to give them a few options, and then the community can vote, and we will set up some after work sport clubs based on the answers. So let's put a few options in here. Okay, and then I can ask that question, and then anyone within the group can post a reply. So you can see this is a nice way to just get a quick bit of feedback on a question that I'm asking. I've also got the option to praise. I'll show you questions in a minute. I'm going to do a praise for a colleague who's just done a challenge for charity, but I think it might be relevant to this group. So I'm going to say, Adele, well done on completing Peaks challenge. If I wanted to say notify their manager, I can add additional people in here, and then I can post the praise button. And this is really just a nice way of celebrating good work within the business, letting people who maybe aren't that good at shouting about what they do, give them a space where you can give them some praise and let other people know about their great work. So you can see this is a kind of really nice, easy way to ask questions and share information. I did actually set up another group where I asked a question. So just to show you what the questions look like. So in a corporate social responsibility group, someone's asked a question. So you do this by posting this message type. And they've asked, where can we find out information about CSR and share that with our customers? So we've got a couple of answers here. Adele has said that she's got an old press release, and Alex has said, oh, actually, there's a specific space on the internet for this. So if I want to mark this as the best answer, as the owner of this group, I can come in here and I can mark this as the best answer. And then you can see here, this is a kind of a nice way of, letting people know that there is a preferred answer for this particular question, much like you see in other kind of message centers and that kind of thing. Okay, great. So we've given some praise. I've shown you how the different message types within Yammer. I think there's another feature that is often overlooked, and this is the option to add topics to a post. So what a topic does, you can think of it as kind of a hashtag. So I've set up one already. So I'm going to search for Dapt, and you can see there's a tag being set up, or a topic being set up for Dapt webinar. If this is a new one, I can say, let's set one up for green. It says, oh, there's not a topic for this yet. So I'm going to create that. I can put a description in there if I want. Topics, hit create topic, and then when I'm done, I hit OK. And what this actually does is, if I click on that webinar, I can see that it gives me a topic feed that shows me anywhere where that particular topic has been mentioned. And you can see that this spans multiple groups. So this is a nice way of kind of pulling information together. So maybe you've got an upcoming event and you want people in different communities to be able to contribute to that. You can set up a topic and that will allow them to contribute into that conversation. So definitely worth setting up. And when I show you how we can integrate with this with SharePoint, you can actually see we can hook up the SharePoint web parts into topics as well as separate communities. One other thing to show you as a group owner, within each of your chats, if you click on the top chat and click on these three drop downs, there's an option to see view insights. And actually this gives you some analytics about your group. So a great way to kind of track the usage, look at trends over time, and just make sure that things are moving in the right direction. Okay, another thing that comes up quite a lot when we're talking about Yammer with our customers, out of the box, it does come with some email alerts. That is not for everyone. Some people would rather just go in and check their inbox or their home feed. So as a user within Yammer, you do actually have some options to manage your email alerts. So if you click on the cog up in the top right hand corner for settings, we can go in here and I can go to edit my personal settings. And this jumps us back to that kind of old Yammer view. But if we click across the notifications, you can see that there's quite a few options here. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but just to say that you can turn off email notifications altogether if you want, or you can be a bit more granular about those notifications and only choose specific communities or times that you want those notifications to come through. So that's a whistle-stop tour of Yammer in the app. They've actually simplified the app a lot. It used to be quite complicated and it put a lot of people off, but I think the way they've simplified the user interface is really going to help with that adoption. So with that in mind, I just wanted to show you some integrations. So Microsoft are really doing a great job of integrating a lot of their apps across their platform. And I'd say the main focal point for that integration at the moment seems to be Microsoft Teams. If you're like us, in the last year, you've probably spent more time in your Teams client than you have in your inbox. So Microsoft are now making real efforts to make sure that all of their applications are surfaced within Teams. So Teams becomes the entry point into your Microsoft 365 environment. So we I'm just going to copy the link to this team. But if I go into my my Teams client, you can see here I've got all my apps down the left-hand side, and you can actually add an app in here for Yammer communities. So if I click on this app symbol down in the left-hand corner, I've got the option. You can search for it. It's called Communities, not Yammer. But if you look in here, you can see there is actually an app called Communities. So I can click on this. I've got the option to add it, and that will actually bring my Yammer Communities app into my Teams client, so I can get everything I need directly from within Teams. If you've got lots of apps, they will drop off onto this section here, but what you do have is the option to pin them, and that will force them to stay on this list and not get hidden by those three dots. So I think that's quite useful. Other ways you can integrate Yammer, actually within a team, if you've got a team that's related to a Yammer community, you can actually come in here and you've got the option to add Yammer as a tab. So I can say I want to add a particular community, or maybe I actually want to look at a topic. So I'm going to do a community this time, and I'm going to search for green initiatives because I know I've got a community set up for this, and I'm going to click save. And what that will actually do is it will add that single community into my channel. So it's a good way for people within my team to quickly get that information and respond to those messages from within the Teams client. This green initiatives is quite an important thing for our business, and we want it to be an open conversation. We want people to get involved and everyone in the business to come up with good ideas to help us be better for the environment. So what I'd actually like to do is integrate this with our intranet as well. So if I click on the hub over here, we've actually integrated our intranet with our Teams client, so you can now embed your intranets directly within Teams. And I've set up a draft of a page for going green. And what I want to do in here is I want to actually integrate that Yammer community. I want people in the internet to jump straight in and be able to have an open chat within this page. So I can put this page in edit mode. And over here on the right hand side, I've got a space set up for this. I'm going to come in here, and if I scroll down, you click on the little plus sign, that gives you the option to add additional content. You can see down here, I've actually got a Yammer Conversations web part that I can use. So I'm going to click on this, and it gives me some options here. So I can connect to a community, I can follow a user or a topic, like the that webinar one I showed you earlier. And I know I want to hook up with the green initiatives. I've used this one recently, so it's suggesting it for me. I can just click on this, and then I can show who's publishing. I've got options here to show who's publishing the messages, and I can choose how many conversations I want to show within that web part. So when I'm done, I can close this down and hit publish, and that Yammer community is now integrated directly into my intranet page. So I think that's a really powerful way to integrate some of these platforms. So hopefully that's given you a good flavour of what's possible with Yammer. There's a whole load of things you can do from an admin perspective behind the scenes. So we can do things like put in banned words. We can have a policy that pops up when people first join Yammer that has some community guidelines, and they have to accept that before they can join, so we can help you set up all those things if required. I just wanted to throw up a quick slide here on adoption. Adoption is really key with Yammer. Don't just turn it on and hope that it will work. Where I've seen it work the best is where we've worked with customers, and they've really understood the technology. So and that from a senior level down, they have a vision for what they want Yammer to be, so they've made it clear to their user base what Yammer is for, what Teams is for, and what SharePoint is for. And a key one here is make sure you've got people moderating those communities. So you need people in the business to do this who are on the ground, and make sure you get executive buy-in. if your executives are posting messages, liking other people's comments, praising people, it will really drive forward that adoption, and it will really get people engaged. And that is one of the best ways possible to kind of make Yammer a success. We actually worked with one customer where we sat down with every executive in the business, and we actually had some rules for them. So they had to post 2 messages a week, like 5 messages a week, and reply to 2 messages. And that really helped drive things forward. So definitely get those senior members of your company involved, and that will really help drive things forward. Okay, so final slide just to wrap up the demo. Some top tips really to get you going with your Yammer community. I would say one of the key ones for me is the which tool to use when. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, make sure that you make it clear that Yammer is that open platform for conversations across the business. Teams is where you go. Teams and SharePoint is where you go to store your files and do your day-to-day work. Yammer is really that open platform. Get that executive buy-in. So make sure that your executives are posting messages and liking messages, like I mentioned. Another key one is to make sure that you've built some groups for launch. So don't just launch with one group. Sit down with those product champions. Make sure that you've got a large number of groups going, and also keep it fun. It should be a mix of business and social aspects. Okay, thanks very much. I'll pass back over to Steve, who'll just cover off the final few bits.
Cheers, Daniel. So as always, if you want to get in touch with us, the details are there. Obviously, you can visit our website, our LinkedIn page, or just connect with us on LinkedIn as well. We always like to get some feedback. So if you have your phones ready, then feel free to scan the QR code just at the bottom of the screen there, and that'll take you to one of our feedback forms. And it'd be great to get some tips just on how we can continually improve the webinars, make sure the content is relevant for you. Okay, so our next mini series event is number 8. That's going to be taking place on Thursday, the 2nd of September. Same time, same place, Microsoft Teams, and that's really looking at Microsoft Word. So a bit of a funny one. You'd think, what can we really show in Microsoft Word? But there's actually quite a lot of really insightful and interesting things within there that will really help you drive that sort of application forward, make it really a lot more useful than you think it can be. As always, if you do want to have the full schedule, we have it here. This session is obviously being recorded, so we'll make sure that this is up for you as well. And the full schedule is available on LinkedIn. But we hope you've enjoyed today's session, found it useful, insightful, and learned some new things about Yammer and how to drive that platform forward. And for now, goodbye, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Thanks very much. Bye.